Hey guys, Michael here, and welcome to my new YouTube channel. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. The reason is that we are living in a new reality called COVID-19, and some of us, or many of us, need to find ways probably to reinvent themselves. So I don't pin much hope that I become a YouTuber, but I think that I need to give my passion for Thailand and its people new manifestations. So blogging and maybe video could be a potential path for me. So that's why I set up this channel, basically to explore and introduce you to the places, the ideas, and the people that really matter. And especially now, with the crisis that we are facing, we consume a lot of negative content, of course. And I hope that this channel can serve as something that brings a little bit more hope and positivity into, our daily lives. So for my first video, for my first episode, actually, we're going to explore a little bit on the topic of self-reliance and how it can help us to become more resilient. For that purpose, we're going to talk to Michael Commons. And Michael Commons, he is the go-to guy when it comes to topics like organic farming, permaculture, fair trade marketing. He's been working with the EarthNet Foundation for many years. He is a mentor, he is a brother, he's been an inspiration for me, and I'm very, very happy that he is going to grace this first episode. So let's switch right in, and welcome to the show, Michael.
Michael, thanks so much for inviting me and giving me this honor to be your first guest on this new show.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Yeah, so you know that I always said that imagined the Hollywood dystopian scenarios that the world would end, right? Civilization would come to a collapse. If that would happen, we go out of our doors, we visit Tesco, we visit a 7-Eleven, it's all shut down, it doesn't exist anymore. What would I do? Where would I go? The first person that comes to my mind is you, Michael. And so for good reasons, because for all the things that I mentioned in my introduction, of course, right? So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your experience working with an organization such as EarthNet and what you have learned there.
Well, thanks for that honor. Really, there's a whole wonderful movement in Thailand. We may be good friends personally, so maybe we're more connected in terms of what we might call the self-reliance movement. We have this movement of it may be a minority, but there are thousands of really talented farmers and other people who understand on how to basically use the resources that we have to meet all of our many needs and in fact find abundance. And this was the way of life of Thailand not long ago. Even my wife, who's now only 40, when she was young, basically they didn't buy almost anything. They bought some fuel for a motorcycle they had. They didn't have electrical power, so they had fuel for lamps, and they bought salt. But basically all the food they had, and they produced their own rice, they cooked their own vegetables, got their own fish. I mean, they really didn't buy almost anything. And this was the norm of much of, I think, almost all of Thailand, like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, except in Bangkok and some places like that. So basically, and this would have been the norm, I think, in pretty much the entire world, if we go back 100 or so more years. That people understood how to use the resources they have, basically what nature provides, to provide for all their needs. And so I've been really blessed to be able to work with EarthNet Foundation. I'm the only non-Thai regular staff there for many years, and then to learn from mostly really amazing farmers who are doing organic farming, integrated farming, but we also have lots of knowledge on Thai traditional medicine, and people like Loon Shok, who's a wizard in terms of understanding how to use bamboo, and Pooyai Viboon was the president of the EarthNet Foundation, who understood medicine, basically how to kind of meet all of your needs with what we have in the environment. So I've had the chance to learn about food production, about soil fertility, about Thai medicine, about building, about pretty much anything that we can.
Wow. So you mentioned 50 years ago, 40 years ago, the systems that we have in place these days were not at the scale or at the level that we see today. What do you think are the shortcomings of the systems that we see today? I mean,
Well, I think that, I mean, I wouldn't want to really be judgmental, but in the case that we have now this really unique and very intense crisis that we have with the COVID-19 pandemic, that is definitely larger than anything I've experienced before in my lifetime. And I think it's really something as a planet we haven't experienced for 100 years. I guess there was a great, the Spanish flu around World War I, but I don't think there's anyone alive today who still can recall that. I think the weakness that we're finding is the kind of, with the promotions of trade, with the modern economy, everything's been focused more and more on theoretically producing at the greatest efficiency, the best of something in one place. Kind of like if Thailand's the best at producing hard drives, and Thailand's a big producer of hard drives, then let Thailand produce all the hard drives, and everybody else buys. And I mean, now I would say China's the best producer of most things. I mean, most of the world buys most of its stuff from China, or a lot of its stuff from China. So then now we are having basically, so supply chains are in complete disarray. We've had to basically stop production, which means things are not flowing and working the way they were. And the weakness that this really shows is the idea of this completely international economy without a level of self-reliance on national or local levels. Because even now in Thailand, we're being asked basically not to leave our own provinces unless we have a specific reason. So even within now Chachen Sao, while they're allowing trade to move, but we're becoming more basically dependent upon what we have at our house, what we have in our community, and so forth. So now we're seeing in other parts of the world, and it's likely to happen in Thailand, that basically our medical systems will be overwhelmed. And the priority will be with severe coronavirus cases. And that means that cases that aren't severe, we probably need to take care of ourselves. And then there's all the stuff that we would normally have. It's not like that's the only kind of injury or illness that we could have. We could have a stomach ache, somebody could, injure their toe or whatever. So if we don't have any capacity to kind of deal with our own basic medical needs at a home or community level, the hospital may not be able to receive us. Level of self-reliance on a basic, simple medicine capacity at the home and at the community level, this is now a weakness and that we're seeing.
For you, how do you actually prepare currently, or how do you react to this pandemic yourself as a family, your community?
Well, okay, we're trying to follow the recommendations to basically, better hygiene and reducing interaction with other people and social distancing. So I think all of those recommendations are ones that we should all follow. We're limiting our time to going out, but we're not yet under a stay-at-home clause. I don't think that's been requested for any of Thailand, but that means that sometimes we do need to buy things. But I could say with my work and my wife's business, things are slow. And we're looking at it potentially being a lot slower because most people are not earning much money. Some people aren't earning any money. So I think we're all going to be in a difficult economic situation in terms of earning money. But consequently, the benefit is that we have more time. For us, we have a lot of land. We already had, I was saying it's wonderful. We have 7 very healthy egg-laying hens, and that produce basically 7 wonderful eggs every day. People have been trying to buy eggs now, and they're getting more expensive and difficult to find, from what I've heard. So that's a blessing. Basically, we have more than enough eggs. We were blessed to have a couple decent rains, so our perennial vegetables are in, so we can collect perennial vegetables. But we've gone much bigger in terms of planting another garden. I mean, we always have our own rice. Fortunately, we have rice fields and we have stores of rice that we have, and we're not, I mean, we could manage for a year without buying rice because we have the rice harvest that we have. So that we're really blessed in terms of that. We have really a lot, but now we're planting, like we planted long beans and many, many more vegetables. So kind of, it's really making us more of a homestead. Otherwise, trying to use the knowledge that we have in terms of our network of Thai traditional doctors and what we can use in addition that may help boost our immunity and give us additional resistance and health. We can use Thai traditional medicine has knowledge in terms of ways that may provide more resistance to things like this. So we're trying to use that as well to give us resistance.
Okay, so do you notice that whether in the countryside, when it comes to, you know, the economics, that the situation now becomes a serious threat? It becomes definitely a threat to people in the city, because we are dependent on you know, our salaries that we receive every month. So once we lose our jobs, you don't get any real government welfare. Now they are implementing something, but it's still 5,000 a month, and not maybe, I don't know what the screening process is, and it takes some time, right? So a lot of people, you know, there's this intuition to leave the city and go back to the countryside. Would you say that being now in the countryside is of an advantage compared to, let's say, the urban, you know, life that we are living in?
Economically, things are really hard hit here as well. Basically, I'm in Chatten Sao in Phnom Sarakam. We are in the countryside, but we're not too far from the city. And we have a lot of factories around us. That's the main, actually, work for most people. We have like Toyota factories and other important factories. So most people are working in factories. I think all of them have been slow for a while. Some of them are still operating. I'm not sure entirely if some are not. In terms of like town, all of the stores and restaurants are slow. Many coffee shops have closed. I guess aside from like Tesco Lotus and the places where people are buying a lot of food, and I think the pharmacies are doing fine and so forth, but it's just everything is quiet. I mean, right now we're interviewing, and I live on one of the biggest highways in Thailand. No cars are passing in front. This is strange. I mean, typically there's, well, now there's a couple cars, but typically it would be nonstop. So like, in fact, some people rented the space in front, and they are running a noodle shop for 20 baht for a bowl of noodles. They have some customers, but they were super busy like 3 weeks ago. Now it's pretty quiet. I would say though, like the most local stores though are kind of okay. My aunt runs a really, really local, like small noodle and rice place. And basically all of the clients were always just like neighbors. And it seems like she's not dramatically shifted, but like this is, people just aren't transiting through. I don't think people are being discouraged from traveling. I believe that farmers should be doing well. The reality is that most farmers are not normally earning most of their income from farming. That normally, like a farm, they would have other sources of income. But farming, because people still need food, and I think people are maybe even more sensitive to that. So I think in that case, and I think while there may be issues in terms of the potentially spreading of the virus from people going back to their communities, we're blessed that most Thai rural families still own a bit of land. That's normal. This is not true in many countries, and I think they can all, like we are, I mean, we already have a fair amount of food we're producing ourselves, but with this time and with this need, we can produce a lot more. And I think all of those rural communities can do it. It's not like they've forgotten this entirely. It's not, all the elders still remember the time and when it was like that before. So in that sense, I mean, I know, I recall from what I learned about the Asian economic bubble of 1997, which then a lot of people did go back to the countryside. And I think that they got through because you didn't have jobs in there, but their families could take them in. they could work up and they're not suffering from hunger or whatever. I mean, there's a place to sleep, you've got food, you're okay. Of course, it will affect downline because everybody, or most everybody who earns money, they buy things, and a lot of people like buy a car on credit. Maybe they buy a house on credit. You can't pay that, right? So you're going to have that repossessed. Then it'll mean defaulted bank loans and so forth. So there'll be all sorts of secondary effects, and then all the people who were anywhere and they were using their money to buy the things, it will break down to lots of parts of the economy. But in terms of actually surviving and having our basic needs, I think it'll be fine.
Okay, because that would be my question. And a lot of people are stressed, of course, with the economic stress now that we have psychologically, and we have all the recommendations that apply very much to our health needs, but in terms of maybe mental health or in terms of economic survival, we need to become more resilient, because some people also say that once this COVID-19 crisis is over, we cannot be sure that there will be not another pandemic coming in the years ahead. So when it comes to becoming more resilient in the future, what role can people like you and others that keepers of the knowledge for self-reliance and farming and all these things, what can we learn from that? What can we learn in order to become more resilient? And how can we apply that even in an urban context?
Well, I think that this is a good opportunity in this case. I mean, frankly, Thailand's also been blessed to have His Majesty Rama IX teaching about the ideas of self-sufficiency and the philosophy and the practice of that. And the practice is very much this integrated, self-sufficient farming system. And that's also about understanding like what is enough. It's kind of a strange concept maybe from that, but basically it's sort of limiting our greed and so forth. So this, I think, has benefits for our planet. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, I don't think if you look at it now, like the amount of pollution, the amount of carbon we're producing, it's down enormously. I mean, for all the horrible aspects of this pandemic, in fact, it's forced the whole planet to slow down, and it's probable that we will like meet whatever targets we may have had for the Paris Accord or something like that. I mean, almost no one's flying when the planes are grounded. I mean, this has dramatic economic factors that are really disrupting, but in terms of planetary health, seems like mostly this slowdown is a good thing. We can judge otherwise, but I think that we can hopefully use this crisis as a chance to both see what is really valuable in life. I mean, I think, first of all, we're all kind of being stuck. We're being faced with a threat that is quite scary. People are dying, and we know that more people will die. And it forces us to all reflect upon, what is really important in life. It's also, we're all sorts of things that we found were normal and expected and that we thought were necessary, we're doing without, right? We're living in a different way, and we're finding, okay, well, we can manage without that. So we're getting used to a new reality, and I think we can try to see what's good in that new reality. We can slow down our systems. Maybe we can take, I think in terms of what we could do for the planet and for society, we could use this as a way to actually resolve like really deeper, longer problems like climate change, which is a huge issue, but we're not feeling it like we are the coronavirus because it's happening so gradually. It's like the difference between today and 35 years ago is huge, but it didn't happen in one day or 1 week or 1 month. But I think that, I would hope that we can build more local economies. We can do more localized production, maybe we can work less. Maybe, we've felt like we've needed to work so hard. we've got all this technology. We've got now artificial intelligence and robotics and so forth. Why is it that we're still working, 12 or 14 hours a day? You can play with this. Maybe we can have a slower pace of life, and that would put less on the planet and give us more time. Not that we don't want to be doing things, but that would probably be healthy for the planet, probably be healthy for people. And as of now, we're kind of forced to do less. So this is how I see it potentially as being a benefit.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, I mean, for some people that are so used to being very productive, being out there and, self-optimization and getting stuff done, and now you're confined or, advised to be at home, it can be challenging. Even me, sorry, I get itchy fingers, but nonetheless, I find ways to, do things and also have more time to think. And that's, I think, now especially necessary because we don't know what the future holds. So there can be, different variations or of the future, alternatives of the future, and we need to brace for the for the worst, or prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, of course, but being nimble and being adaptive. And I think that's very important. And I think that these topics that you've been working on in the past years will ever become more important for society. And I hope that will lead to a shift in which we, treat the planet and the ecosystems and the living systems with much greater care than what we used to do in the, throughout our history. So yeah, and I think you also give workshops, right, Michael? I think that could be also a call for everyone out there who's interested to learn more about self-reliance and permaculture. Michael and I, we've known each other for a long time. I had the honor to, co-host and co-organize some events, and we will do so again in the future. And we will do a shout out to you guys. So if you're interested, you can sign up. We will let you know. It's a lot of fun, very insightful, and very beneficial for you, for your community, and for the planet. So in that sense, Michael, have you got any other message that you would like to spread out to the world?
Oh, well, that's quite a bit. Yeah, I think just thinking now, because we're talking about it, I think now, I think it's maybe a really good time for all of us to look at our own health. I think Thailand, we're blessed with so much in terms of, I said, the Thai traditional medicine is very rich as well. Maybe take some time to learn about that, learn about what you can use from that. I think let's, we can. I think while it's a very stressful time, I think we can also use this to help transform ourselves maybe into healthier and happier people. I also, my greatest worry with this is that we could become too xenophobic. So I think we also have to kind of maintain compassion because while we have distancing, let us not forget about compassion, that, we're in this together. Yes, we maybe have to be more cautious about people from outside because we don't know where they've been and maybe but let us not forget to treat people with compassion and empathy, even when we're being cautious for our own health. So,
okay. Thank you very much, Michael. I will certainly have you back again on on another topic related to what we've been talking about. And yeah, it was really great talking to you and catching up. And I hope you will have a great day with your family out there and stay healthy.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Michael. I truly enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure to talk to Michael because I learn always a great deal, and I totally agree with him that we can overcome a lot of the shortcomings that this crisis is revealing, and self-reliance can help us to become definitely more resilient on the personal level, or maybe even on the community or societal level. If you're interested in this topic, I will add more links and information in the video description below, and we will launch a series of events connected to a project called Reboot Thailand, which we're going to announce once we are getting through this crisis, and I hope we will see you there. And in the meantime, if this is something that you think other people might be interested in, please share, please to subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. And in the meantime, please stay healthy, stay safe, and see you soon.